Hello everybody, this is Kevin Smith and this is Kev Thinking Out Loud. Today is Thursday, February 18th, 2016. And with this blog I wanted to talk to you about a little bit more about Canada and its place in the world and the effect of oil prices that it's had on Canada historically and where we are right now, as well as a little bit on what it might mean globally. And I'll finish up with some thoughts and some updates on my team. There's been a couple of changes here recently, you may have already noticed, and I want to let you know what's going on with some of our key team members. So first of all, Canada in the last decade and a half has benefited substantially from the very high oil prices, historically high energy prices for a rather long period of time. You see provinces like Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Newfoundland being major contributors to the Canadian economic space, and the spillover effects of that in high wages and investment trickling through to the other provinces. Recently, in the last year and a half, that trend has been broken and reversed to the point where oil prices have reached, I think, what most of us would accept as shockingly low levels. And we have seen the effects and dislocation that it's had on the Canadian economy and the different regions of Canada, depending on the region. So it's easy to see how Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Newfoundland are impacted. If you watch the news, or even in your local communities, you may have people returning back to Nova Scotia from those regions. The amount of investment has shrunk. The stock market has been impacted because oil and gas became such a very large part of the Toronto stock market, and we see that in our returns from a Canadian point of view. And also the dollar, which is probably one of the most noticeable effects. Dollar now at parity for quite a while, and now it's down 70 cents, fluctuating either side of that depending on what's happening out there. But interestingly, as the price of oil has fallen, there have been a lot of positive effects that go unnoticed or less noticed than the negative effects. For example, many of Canada's exports, aside from energy products, have been rising as a result of markets opening up because of our cheap dollar. We see that locally with some of our fishermen out there and other businesses that export to outside of Canada, not just to the United States, but also the rest of the world. This era that we're into right now, given that oil prices may stay low for quite a while, meaning years, reminds me a lot of the 1990s, which was another period in history where oil prices were very low. And at that time, the Canadian dollar also was low, but it was a very robust period for the Canadian economy with good growth. And if those of us that can remember the 1990s, and if we're too young to remember, ask about it. But it was a good period in Canadian history for growth and economic stability. My point here is that the Canadian economy became overweight oil and gas, which seemed great at the time, but in retrospect, do we really want to be an economy that is primarily seen by ourselves and the rest of the world as just exporting fossil fuels? The good news will come from Canada as the economy evolves into a much more diversified economy, which takes longer, which then, leads to the question of, is low oil prices a net benefit or not for the world or Canada? And my belief is that it is a net benefit given time. We will end up with an economy much healthier, I think, for the long run than one that is just focused on fossil fuels. Now think for a minute about the transitions that are happening in Canada right now, and ask yourself, what would it be like in Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, or to a lesser degree Russia, where 100% almost of their foreign reserves come from oil sales? Their societies function almost exclusively on oil. Not having the benefit of being part of a country like Canada, where one region suffers and another region helps out, I think that there's some significant probability, or possibility anyways, that those countries are going to be fundamentally transformed, and not necessarily for the better if you're part of the elite ruling class in those countries. But that depends on how long oil prices stay low and their ability to withstand that. My personal belief is they're going to stay low for quite a while, and they've missed the opportunity, I believe, to build strong, diversified civil societies and economies. So change, change is a theme here, and it's easy, and our natural tendency for a lot of us is to think of change initially as a negative effect. We fear change. However, I want you to remember that change is actually a necessary condition for growth. And you cannot have growth without change at the same time. That's true of our societies, globally and domestically. It's true of our economic systems, and it's also true in our personal lives. In order for us to grow, we need to accept change and adjust to it. And that's, I think, a decent segue into some of the changes that are happening inside of our team, the Smith team. A couple of exciting developments. We have young Lacey, who is, you may know, typically when you walk through the door, she's the first face that you typically see. Lacey's decided that she would like to work part-time with us for the next few months in order to finish her studies at Acadia, and we are more than happy to accommodate her on that. So Lacey has gone to basically half-time while she finishes her degree at Acadia, and we wish her luck in that. My daughter Christine, who's also a member of the team, you likely have communicated with her through email or telephone or even in the office. She's expecting our 5th grandchild in the middle of March, and she is just recently been off basically due to those events, and we don't expect to see her back for another year. And with the shortfall in staff, a person and a half basically from our point of view, we've Janet, primarily spearheading this effort, has replaced that person and a half with a new person named Toshley Smith. Toshley is with us now. She's got a lot to learn, but she's learning very fast. She's a young lady from Bermuda, graduate from King's College in journalism, and we're all getting along great and really enjoying having Toshley around as she learns and we help her develop. I'll finish off with one request from you, my clients and friends. I would just ask you, if you don't mind, to have Christine and my family in your thoughts and prayers over the next month as Christine gets ready to deliver our 5th grandchild, and we pray for a safe delivery for Christine and a healthy addition to our family. And we'll be happy to share that story with you in our next blog or the next time you come in, and we look forward to seeing you at our next meeting in 2016. Take care, and thank you for your business.